Here we are again, another story in this book. Jack Engelhard's Escape from Mount MORIAH. This time I think I'll read Penn Station. Mother was hard of hearing, so she never picked up English, even after years living in Montreal. Not everybody believed her, by the way. Years later, my cousin Roma said, she hears what she wants to hear. The problem, as my mother saw it, wasn't hers. She used to say, let them learn Yiddish. My father had read Dickens in the original back in France, so he was something of an English expert. In actuality, he was very poor when it came to the spoken language. But compared to my mother, he was Winston Churchill. Penn Station, he said to her one day. My mother, for some reason, was traveling to New York, and I was going along. I had no idea why. Didn't know then, and still don't know today, the reason for that week's trip. So my father told my mother that when she got there to New York, she was to get in a cab and tell the driver, Penn Station. Not Pennsylvania Station, my father warned her. Only people from another city said Pennsylvania Station. And that's all the cab driver had to know to take you for a nice tour around the entire city, with the meter running. Moreover, said my father, don't say another word. One word besides Penn Station would reveal her accent and betray her as being from another country. That guaranteed a tour around the city twice. Now, Penn Station, anybody can say and still sound like an American. Say Penn Station, said my father. Penn Station, said my mother. Very good. Each day my father tested her. Penn Station, said my mother. And what if the driver asks you a question? I say nothing. What if he asks you if you like the weather? What do you say? Penn Station. Penn Station, perhaps the only two words in the entire English language that can not be mispronounced. So with those words, we traveled to New York by train, which took us to Grand Central Station. I had never been to America before and never seen so many people under the same roof. There was no end to the crowds or the building. There were doors everywhere, but they only led to more doors. Was there an outside? Or was this America, from beginning to end? We were lost. Finally, we followed the right crowd and found ourselves out in the open. Taxis were lined up against the curb. My mother wanted a Jewish face for a driver, but in New York, every face is Jewish, sometimes even black faces. Here, lady, someone said, and just like that, we were in a cab. Penn Station, said my mother. I knew what she was thinking. The driver might ask, which Penn Station? Why Penn Station? But he asked no questions. He flipped the meter handle and started the drive. My mother was worried. Had she said Penn Station properly? Already we were riding too long, it seemed, and I could sense my mother wanting to protest. But what could she say, except Penn Station again? And my father had warned her against pushing her luck. Say it once, he said, only once. So she had said it once, and like God, who had brought the world into being merely by saying the words, "Behold, here was Penn Station," just for the saying. "Penn Station," said the driver. "Yes," said my mother, chancing the extra English word, now that she was safely here, and feeling a bit extravagant. I think I'll go on and read the third story. MORIAH, the war hero. I'm not sure about the pronunciation of this name. If it's French, which I'm assuming it is. My French in college would say MORIAH, but I'm still not sure. I think we'll get the point across and just say it that way. A man named MORIAH moved next door to us on Saint-Urbain Street. And on hot summer nights, eating grapes and cherries on his second-floor landing, he used to thrill me with stories about Israel. His exploits against the Arabs in the War of 1948, still fresh now in the early 1950s, were the measure of King David's. So there I was, he said, surrounded by Arabs. Arabs to the left, Arabs to the right, Arabs in front, Arabs in back, hundreds of them, prepared to kill. Who was in the middle? Me. Well, naturally, he vanquished them all by himself. I was not surprised. The whole story about how we won Israel was a miracle. There had to be hundreds of people like MORIAH to beat back the thousands of Arabs. And MORIAH looked the type. There was a pioneer roughness about him. He seemed as wild as the Judean hills, and in his eyes you could see the vastness of Sinai. I envied him. I wanted to be like him, the new Jew. We had a schedule. Each night after supper, I'd join him on the landing and start by saying, "Tell me." Well, once an Arab had me against a wall with a bayonet, let me tell you. Of course, MORIAH prevailed. All his stories had a happy ending. After all, he was here, wasn't he? Incredible, I thought, that while we pale-faced Jews were fleeing the Nazis in another part of the world, a biblical romance was taking place. A different kind of Jew was fighting and winning. The names alone entranced me. Instead of Bergen-Belsen, Auschwitz, Treblinka, I heard Palmach, Bergen, Haganah. How was it, I thought, that my Jews never won a battle, and MORIAH's Jews never lost a battle? My Jews were great in Torah. His were glorious in war. I remembered being taught how virtuous it was not to fight back, yet standing obediently in line for the ovens, mothers and their children by the hundreds, thousands, and finally the millions. This was so virtuous. One time, MORIAH said, there I was in an alley. I was out of bullets, only a knife to my name. Well, 20 Arabs had me encircled. What was I to do? Should I run? Or... No, MORIAH wouldn't run. MORIAH wouldn't lie either. One night I went to visit him, and he wasn't home. His wife told me a strange thing. She said he was a good talker, her MORIAH. He'd come straight from the concentration camp, here to Montreal. He'd never been to Israel, she said. Of course, I didn't believe her.